Let's hope everything just works out. Okay, guys, welcome back to Hand of Fate 2. I don't know if you can hear my desktop audio or not. You might only be able to hear me. So, if you don't hear the audio, I am sincerely sorry. But let's begin. And we're going to play a couple of campaign rounds, and then maybe end it up with an endless. So we have 3 more ones to just complete. So let's just try this. Let's see. Okay. There's the tokens we need to get. The shrill voice of a tower crier rings out across the market square. The Empire himself seeks an Adventurers Guild member. Urgent expedition, vital to the safety of the Empire. You spot a crowd of travelers weighted down with weapons and tools lingering nearby. The Empire is offering a reward just to set off on the expedition, even more if you make it back. That's how desperate they are for help. Okay. On your arrival at the gates of the Royal Palace, the Royal Palace, an armed escort leads you directly to the Emperor's chambers. The Emperor remains still and silent as his chief counsel lays out the expedition. A few relics from the last age still endures in the ward. We had one in this very room until last night, she gestures to the empty pedestal. Not only must you reclaim the stolen symbol of all power, we ask that you gather its 3 sibling relics. The evidence suggests a thief. Thieves regularly steal things, so I think we have a Sherlock Holmes in our midst. They seize on a weak spot of our god's schedule. There are many treasures in the palace. It is curious that this is all they stole. An ornate pillow sits atop a stone pillar. In the dust, you make out the shape of a jetted braid. It was a cemetery stone. It sat for decades under our protection. We're not protecting it, you understand. We're protecting those who were trying to possess it. The blade is coarse. Its venom strikes both wielder and foe in equal measure. Okay, let's go. Hold on, adventurer. It took skills and dangerous thieves to steal the artifact. We ensure you'll be safe out there. See our training officer on your way out. You are greeted by the Captain Estella Fiel. Thieves are cowards at heart. They will dodge your heaviest attacks just as they dodged their civil duty. A swift blade is best to defeat them. Here, try these out. Yay! Your quest takes you far away from the city. Vast wildlands stretch out before you. Your companion reminds you of the Emperor's mission. One relic was stolen by a bazaar of thieves. Another is in the clutches of a shady merchant. And one is enshrined in a small village in the east. As for the last, Talbot shrugs, who knows? So we just gotta get these relics. That should be easy. Okay. No, we're gonna stand our ground. Let's get into this. The bad thing is I don't recall the buttons as much as I used to, so it's gonna be fun playing that up again. Okay. Dang it. No, 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 no. There we go, I think. Nope. We got one more. There we go. Did we get the coin? Ooh, we got new weapons. Perform 4 critical strikes to get it. Perform 6, that's nice. Less damage overall though. Sure, we'll go with it. And we got the token. Okay. Well, we're gonna have to fight them off. Dang it. Dang it. It's been a long time. There we go. There we go. We got some fame. This shield has a token equipped to it. Defend. Defeat 30 attacks from enemies. Optionally discard any non-food gain to receive 2 food. We're gonna go with the token. Ooh. pretty. Cool. That's not cool. That's nice. Ooh, even nicer. I know that. Oh, that's even worse. We're gonna go buy some food. Maybe. We might buy some food if we can survive this. Dang it. Dang it. Dang it. There we go. Hopefully we get some food. Nope, equipment gain. Another shield. Food! Gold, yay, okay. How do I view my equipment again? Oh yeah, I have a two-handed weapon. I can't equip any of these. Let's see. Inspect. What does rusty? Can't be sold. Okay. Now we'll keep the two-handed weapon. This isn't good. Negotiate. Oh, come on, give us. Oh, wow, nice. I wonder, can we even save more money? We'll reroll these two. Yeah, we'll use another die. No, I will buy it at that price. All enemies move 15% faster when they are hit. Okay, so I got one of the four. Yay! Ooh! We got tons of money! Can I give them money? Can we exchange money as a form of not killing us? Dang it. No! I swear, any other time I would do that, I become invincible during that animation. I've disappointed them. But we got a token. We got a new weapon that's available. But we didn't complete the Emperor's mission. Let's try this one. There we go. Okay. I think I was not supposed to retire for the night. Return idle. Oh my gosh. Just all the goblins. Gotta hear you. I think they got away. Actually, no, they didn't. That was luck. Yes, we'll take the shield. can get one piece of information. Let's see how lucky I am. Just barely. Thank you for the information. Okay, it's literally a no-lose gain. And I got the most awesome. Okay, one. Cool, let's try it one more time. Awesome. And I think we're gonna just pocket it there. What do we need? I think a longer life would be best for us. This item will always be stolen. Oh, cool. Throw this bomb to cause stun areas less effective against corrupt. What can I sell? We could sell the shield. Don't really want to. What does this do? Oh. No, we want to keep that. We'll buy it. Let's try it. Let's try it. Okay. That sucks. Just straight up failure. Really? I decline. We don't need anything more. Nope, we're gonna keep exploring. We'll play die. We can't play die. We'll play cards. We can't play cards. We're attempt to steal. Dang it! Lost some life. Oh, there goes our max life. Ooh! Ooh! Let's try this. Oh, this should be easy. Oh my gosh! I don't have any money to bribe. I don't have any food to eat. Oh, I forgot to ask those questions. That one. Oh. I don't have enough gold. I'm sorry. I politely decline. Hopefully we survive this and we get some food out of it and a max life. Max life would be really nice. There we go. Let's. Dang it. Dang it! That was a complete miss. There we go. Okay, that looks nice. Now equip this. At least that gives me some defense. Food. Really? Okay, so we know what we want. How long is it going to take for it to get into that sequence again? Yes! Woo! I definitely think we're going to take this. We're definitely going to take the ring. Question. Yeah, equip all of it. Yep, we want that. We got that. Okay, we want the gain cards, specifically the gain of food. But it seems like really there's only two things we wouldn't want. Okay. I'll take the holy grenade. Let's see. We got 3 that we don't want. Yep. 4 that we don't want. Okay. Ah. We'll try this one now. We want 3 that we don't want. And it's just slightly after. Really now? We haven't really gained anything yet. Ooh, nasty. Okay. This is gonna be our last one, guys. We at least got money out of it. Yeah, we're gonna leave that. Yay! No. I don't got one blessing for you, dude. Let's hope we survive this. There we go. Oopsie. That wasn't what I wanted to do. I did not want to waste that grenade that way, but hey. Maybe we'll be lucky and we'll be fighting undeads. Another clue. Awesome. We got 2 clues. Still don't got a blessing for that, dude. Actually, we're gonna. We gotta do one thing before that. We don't have any more uses, so it might as well be better we have that. There we go. Now we're getting some clues. Oh, this shouldn't be too hard. Dang it! This shouldn't be too hard. I can do this. I can do this. There we go. Don't want to pay money just yet. Okay. Oh, this is super easy. He's an easy drunk. Okay. Let's do this. Let's go here. Let's hope. Sure, accept the die and we'll get this. Yay! Okay, and this one. We'll do this one. Yay! Okay, now let's review the clues. Will lie regardless of their personality. Graffer said that Borman works for him for a long time. Graffer said Borman will spill more truth when drunk. Graffer said Rowan has worked for him for a long time. Rowan is the third legions of the Empire's army. Rowan will always tell the truth for money. Graffin said that Goran has worked for him for a long time. Goran will make wild whatever. Okay. So I think Borman's right now is the one. Drunkenly said that Rowan is the leader of the Third Army and killed her captain. Thinks the assassin is Genun. Okay. Rowan says was in the 7th Legion of the Army. Okay. While Drunken said that he thinks the assassin is Gurn says not to trust anyone but him. And who did he say? Borman spills more truth when drunk. Okay. I think we're gonna accuse Borman. Rowan. Let's see if we at least can get the second coin. Dang it. Dang it. There we go. Dang it. We're gonna stun that girl. No, we're not. I lied. Done. Right into the table. Odd clicking sounds. Controller. Sorry. Did we get it? We got it! Yay! A lot of new cards. Yay! New weapons. Awesome. Couple of good gains. That's nice. It's always nice to get good gains. And we at least got silver on that. Hey, we unlocked some more. I was about to say all of them, but apparently it just keeps growing. Okay, let's try to do the chariot now. Clear on fill. Let's start. Oh, and welcome, 45 Gunner. Sorry for the clicking sounds again. Okay. Let's ask some questions. Okay. Let's go this way. Some corrupt. Let's ambush them. Take them out. Yes! Patience is a virtue. Awesome. We just took out a good portion of them. Dang it. Oh, we're gonna have to fight. Die. I haven't saved any citizens yet. I wanted to... Yeah, okay, we got nothing special. Supplies, please. Yay, we got some citizens. Yay, we lost some health. Luckily, we didn't have to wait that long for that one. Ooh, we're gonna definitely take the new one. When a skeleton reanimates, they drain life from enemies around them. Ooh! One failure card glows red during the shuffle. Nice. Yes, we will take that. And I think we will also take Winter's Blame. We'll take it, but I much rather keep the other one. Okay, we have to hopefully not have anyone die. There we go. I think we lost everyone though. Oh yes, we will take that. Lock chest, unguarded equipment. Lock chest, unguarded equipment. Let's try unguarded equipment. We'll keep that for now. We should be able to handle 4 steers easily. There we go. I don't think a single touch on that one. Awesome. Lightning Bomb. Armored Corrupt. Now let's play some dice. We didn't do too well. Now we did good. health. That's always nice to have. We're gonna ambush them. It's gonna be great. Watch. Just watch and see. Dang it! I lied. It's gonna be horrible. There we go. I think we should be good to go. There we go. Another flawless hit. Yes, please equip that. I thought I had that equipped. Let's trade equipment. How many equipments do I have? I have at least one there. One there. Not much equipment. So we'll trade one for two. I really like Winter's Brine. Actually, we're gonna trade the axe. There we go. More than enough food. Trade equipment for other equipment. Oh no, 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 no. We could try this, but I think we're good. Let's leave. I don't know what I need to do to get the token though. Let's make sure. Nope. We want Winter's Plane. Thank you. I'll keep the wooden. Okay, what's up here? Some more citizens. Save some citizens. Okay, I think we're ready to go save the gatehouse. Let's attack. Yes, we're using an assist. We're definitely gonna try to take as much advantage as we can in this. Cause it's gonna be all out war. Yep, killed those. Okay, is that... Dang it! I almost got that timing right. There we go. Okay, yeah, cast that on me, thank you. Awesome. I didn't know how much more I had to go. I didn't know if I had to get all the way through the life as well. I went through this entire town. We're gonna continue onwards. Okay. I'm gonna go this way first. I'm gonna fight. I think we're gonna be good. Your artifact is empty now and no use to you here. Guessing that's my grenades. Yep, grenades. Die. Okay, let's go heal my buddy. Dang it. There you go. Ooh. 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 I'll take it. Nope, I'm taking it. Let me save some citizens, and I got some life. Okay. Ooh, that's a lot. Let's see, can we lessen that? Dang it! So close. Okay, can we lessen this again? Aww. We're gonna ask for help. We're gonna ask for some help here, guys. I most likely will survive, but it's gonna be a battle beyond battles. Oh my gosh. Dang it. Gotta keep an eye out. I'm right in the heat. Dang it. Dang it. Oh, come on. Yes. There we go. Whew. Nope, I didn't want to go that way. We need food. Nope, gold. I'll take a life. Life's not too bad. Let's see if we can get food now. Nope, more gold. Let's try it one more time. Food! Yes! I kind of want to get it because I might not get this luck again. Let's try it one last time. We actually did it, oh my gosh. What, I have to do it again? Oh, this is gonna be impossible. There we go. I got a lot out of it though. Ooh, skeletons or stun. Got a lot out of it, but it'd have been nice to maybe get something else. I don't think we need your help right now. We're gonna separate you from the crowd. Dang it. There we go. Dang it. Dang it. Dang it. There we go. Oh my gosh, we kept dying. There's some goodness. No, we'll take the life. Okay, we just have to catch the children. Oh my gosh, come on. Oh, you're so close to being parallel. Now it's out of sync again. Maybe here? Oh, that was my opportunity. Dang it! That was my opportunity. Well, gotta leave the children. Let's buy some exotic fruit. Can I go save the children now? Yes, I can. Children, here's some food. Let's see if we can lessen that. Okay. Close. Here it comes. There we go. Let's see if we can lessen it a little bit more. Dang it! There was one above it. But I think we got that. I think we got this. Dang it. Mm-hmm. Come at me. Right through the forehead. We still got a few places to discover. No. There you go. Let's try to do this ambush. There we go. Okay. There we go. Oh. So we might not do an endless if we can get actually through this all the way. There we go. I was like, why am I not moving? There we go. I don't need really money, I need food. Yes, only because I need to keep as much life as I can. There we go. I'm gonna die. Well, that sucks. I'll leave these for the next time we go through. We're gonna go do an endless, I think. I didn't want that. I don't want to change my appearance. I actually prefer my appearance. I like it. Nope, I'm finished. I just wanted to see myself. I only have 2 companions. I'd much rather you. Okay. Supplies, please. I will go. Actually, I shouldn't need a lot of life, so we're gonna go gold. We'll definitely take food. And we'll definitely take that one. We'll definitely take shards. And let's see, is there any gain of food? No. Equipment gold. Helm, we'll take that. Shards, definitely. Shards. New. Shards. And we get this right off the bat. Awesome. Dang it, and we get, please redraw. Thank you. Really? My mind goes, it's a lot faster. Well, we get to battle. My mind goes, it's a lot faster. I did really well. I should have pushed it all the way. Nope. There we go. Dang it. I'm gonna die here. of the waste. Dang it. Oh my gosh. Well, that's a great start to this endless. Have 96% of my health taken away? Really? I can't get hit once. Dang it! That timing, it screwed me over on timing because I so hit that dodge button. It was like you hit it too soon. Yes, I know that. Okay. We're gonna ask for supplies again. We're gonna go 12 food. Ooh, unique blessing. But I have to provide 200 health? No, I can't do that. None of these sound easy. I'll do that one maybe. I'll go that one. Okay. Okay, let's see what this does. Okay, this is simpler. This is Indiana Jones stuff. Okay, I've never seen you. Oh, yep. Yep, you're a fireman. Okay. Okay. Ooh, that could have been bad. Get some gold. Get some gold. Okay. There we go. Didn't realize what I was in before it was too late. Ooh, that could have been bad. It could have been just like that. I was out of the way. This game is cheating. Really, game? Yep, we just take all the hits. Yep, take all the hits. Hello, the blackened one. I'm glad you got to watch me take all the hits. It's okay. It's better than the last endless one we did. Oh my gosh. I'll accept the duel. Should be easy. The last endless one, we literally went into a combat with like 12 other guys at the very beginning. It's horrible. I can do a duel though. Ow. If I don't get shot in the face every time I come close. Haha, you're in the corner. Dang it. What did I mess up? I guess I messed up. I don't have much food to give. I was hoping that was enough. Okay, 2 success, 2 failures. That was easy. Of course. Yes! Just on the edge, but got it. Definitely taking this one. And we'll definitely take this one. I hit that. I hate these guys. There we go. I hate those thieves. I'm gonna die here. Can you give me health? No? Come on, please. I would really like it. Thank you. Yep. Where's my buddy? I didn't want to heal you. I kind of need to heal myself. Nope. Come on. Can you help me? Can you help me, dude? Nope. Thank you. I definitely don't like that guy. Nope. Oh my gosh. Okay, I need to save my buddy. Nope. I need to save my buddy. Oh, great. Wait, I can do that. I was like, wait, he has such low health. I could take him out before he gets another hit on me. Can I get some health? Health, please. Nope. Equipment? Okay. Sure, we'll take it. Gold? Sure, we'll take it. Kinda need health, but hey, we'll take it. Let's try this. What's the worst that can happen? I need the health one. I need that one. I'll take the food. Nope, I'll take the food. I need that one. That is not what I needed. Yes, please, let's reroll. Really? Really? Come on. Let's try this again. I need that one. Or that one. We're gonna go with this one, actually. Because I have a higher likelihood of hitting it. I'll take a failure. I'll take a failure over battle. We're just gonna take it. I'm too scared that if I risk it one more time, I'm not gonna get it. Well, I should have risked it one more time. We'll see how good this works. I didn't realize that that's the end of the level. I thought it was like go a couple more levels, but nope, it's correct. I should have risked it a billion times. Well, let's see how good we are. And we're just gonna do a bunch of dodge. Can really? I dislike that. It wasn't gonna let me do my special. I think we'll do one more. See how far we can get. Hopefully we can get past level 1. Gosh. It's been such a long time since I played. Always ask for supplies. You're gonna get 3. It basically negates this section. I need food. I need food. If I fail, I get 12. I lose 12, but I could get 60 life. I get 10 from aims. We'll go with that one. Okay, let's see what we get. I definitely want to try the duel, and I'll try the arm wrestle. If I can do that, I'll do that one. That's new. Okay. 20 minutes on the clock. Okay, this shouldn't be too hard. Assuming we don't get down to like 40% life, I should be able to get through a level. Dang it, I missed them. There we go. See, that's how it should go. Guys, that's how it should go. Now, I don't know why I keep losing at this one. I feel like I win, but we'll find out. I think I have to hit him. I have to take out like his last 10% of life in one hit. Or one sequence of hits. See, I think I have to take him out in one sequence of hits. I have no food to give you right now. Oopsie, I think this is the end of the level. I thought I had a little bit more to go. Whoopsies. That's what happens when you don't read. But theoretically, I should be able to beat him. I have enough life. And, oh, I kept him on. I threw the other guy off. I threw him off the level. Just like, no, don't need you. Yay, food. Okay, we need to score 10. Yay. Got all the life I need back. I don't really need fame. More food would be nice. We're gonna go food then. I don't have any courses. That's not too bad. I am not gonna have enough food to deliver 28. Definitely take that one. Definitely take that one. Take this one. And I think this is a good one to take if I remember right. Token cards. Definitely. Token cards. New card. Okay. No, I just finish him. Did I own the token? I don't know what I need to do. Hopefully I got the token. If I didn't, I just threw all my food away for no good reason. got the token, guys. Hopefully. We got equipment. We'll go with that one. What is this? You and your companion deals 200 damage and influence. Ooh. Ooh, yes, please. We got some food. We didn't get the token, though. And we lost that. Yay. But what do we gain in return? No, I don't want that. No. I think we're gonna go keep the thing we gave. Ooh, small lever. This shouldn't be too hard with that one benefit we got now. Theoretically. Okay, can you... Thank you. Dang it. Okay. Nope. I need to hear you, though. Nope, 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 nope. Ow. It didn't go as smoothly as I hoped, but it at least worked. Yeah, we'll take it. Hey, we got pretty much our entire health back. That's nice. Let's see. Can we buy some food? Yes. We'll buy that much. We shouldn't need any information. Nah, we're good. Actually, let's buy some information. Okay, cool. Sure. I think I did all the options and didn't get anything out of it. I should have done that one card that they discovered, dang it. Yes, I'll agree to fish. Dang it! Well, who cares? Who cares? Let's go again. There we go. Okay, and again. I at least got success. Got food back. Dang it. Whew. Note to self. They are nasty people. Okay. That is nasty. If that's what we're about to fight at the end, it's gonna be hard. It's not bad. Uh, I have a high enough thing. We'll take it. Nope, made my life back. Neither of those are significantly good at anything we're gonna be fighting, so I'll take it. Oh, that was my opportunity. Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting. I didn't know you could go through the wooden blocks. Interesting. Collected a shard. Trade food for equipment, trade equipment for food, equipment for equipment. 6 food for a random weapon. How much equipment do I have? I have rusty, so I have one of those. Guess I have one of those. Let's see. Nope, it's like, nope, not gonna count your food as a thing. We don't really need food. Let's see what we can get as other equipment. We'll get food then. We got tons of food now. Let's see. Let's put 18 food. Ooh. Greater blast that causes 80% damage to enemies in the area when activated. Ooh, requires 9 hits. Sure, let's take that. Performs a strong 250 damage to a single. No, we'll keep it. Awesome, we got the token. It's a 2-hour mark, so once we die, we die. That's the end of the stream. Dang it. Oh my gosh. Just keep dodging, just keep dodging. Die! Really? Die. I think this game is cheating. We didn't die. We did not die. Oh, this should be easy. Nope. We lost all of fame. I don't got any blessings, so I'll take the unknown. Map revered. So basically, if I reveal the map, I get 12 food. But if I don't, I get 1 cross. Deliver 2 weapons. We'll definitely do that one, and we might do that one. Definitely want that. Definitely want that. Definitely is that one. take that one. Map reveal we'll definitely take. I'll definitely do that one. Okay, we're gonna do that one, we're gonna do that one. We're gonna do that one, and we're gonna do that one. We're gonna do those two. Okay, let's see how far we can make it. Yes, we'll take that. I think we already have one. But we'll take another one, I think. I don't have 10 gold. Sorry, dude. We'll do that one. What's the worst of the course? That's fine. That's fine. We'll take that. That was the general store. Ooh, that actually doesn't look too bad of an opportunity. There we go. Nicely done. Almost all of it now. Wow. Health, that's something we definitely need. There are 8 revealed encounters on the map. Traveling the car, pay the gold for information on the areas you've seen in your recent travels. Sure. Oh, we get paid gold. Okay. Uh-oh. That's not good. Yes, let's make a donation. Ooh. Ooh. What's this one? Acquire 40 gold on a single map to gain 20 max life, then discard this card. We aren't going to easily be able to gain 20 gold at the beginning of a new map if you have less than 20 gold. Ooh, that's not bad. If your max life is less than 150, you may discard a food or equipment to gain. No, I'm good. Receive 15 life for every gold you receive. That's not bad. Receive 2 for every dice gamble. I think we're going to receive food for gold. And I think we're going to buy some equipment. What does a blessed life mean? Gains 10 while you have more blessings than curses. I don't know if we have that. We're definitely by the fire extinguisher. Okay. Dang it. Nope, we're not gonna mess around with that. Dang it, 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 dang it. Dang it, 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 dang it. There we go. That took a good portion of our health away. Yes. Ooh. I'll take it. Food means health. Oh, dang it, I don't want to enter the cavern yet. Oh. We almost had the entire map revealed. Again, this is where I get punished for clicking too soon. Oh, this is gonna be hard as all. Oh my gosh. Okay, we need a... Nope. Nope. There we go. Kill all of them. Kill all of them. There we go. 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 Okay. I see how this goes. This actually isn't too hard. It's just time consuming as all get up, but I guess before I do that, let me at least do this. Okay, now she's locked up. Now I killed these guys. Dang it. Okay. They're dead. Now I beat up on this. Okay. Ask him to heal me. Yep. There we go. There we go. She's dead. We are actually getting somewhere, guys. Oh my gosh. We're gonna lose the reveal all things, which that's gonna suck. And around, and around, and around, and stop. Aww. Nope, we're gonna redraw that. Yeah, I'll take more food. Lose 10 gold each time you revive your companion in battle. Ah. 60 life, 8 gold per blessing. 60 life. Unique blessing provide 400 life? Oh my gosh. Rings restricted, 70 plus life. 12 food. We'll take that. We'll take that. And we'll keep going. Take the tokens, even though I don't want to. Take the tokens. Let's see. We'll go that one. Token. We'll go that one. Token. Via shops. We'll take that one. Token and token. Token and ooh, eat less. Heal. Last shot. Let's take that one. Okay, 720. We're making progress. And this is where we die. Oh, so close. We'll definitely take that over it. There's some life, there's some gold, more life. Take some of that. Take some of that. And take some of that. We actually have tons of food. Here's 8. We did it. Oh, I transferred to a harvest. That's not great. Nope, we're gonna linger a little bit longer. Oh wow, 3 people are watching. I must be getting famous or something. And this is where all 3 leave. This should be easy. Oh, he's down. There we go. And I didn't even revive my teammate. Ooh, 5 encounters are revered. Well, none of them were. Because they were all already revered. Okay, so this one's going to be interesting. This one I have to save my last... Actually, even my last move wouldn't help. I don't know how I do this. It's like just luck, I guess? Dang it. Dang it! I do not know how I'm supposed to do that. Yeah, we'll take it. I'd much rather keep my blessing. We're gonna stand our ground. Because this shouldn't be that hard. Got some new swords. Ooh, I like these swords. Ooh, I like these swords. To cause enemies to fight on your side for 10 seconds. Ooh. Mmm. I think that'd actually be more useful. Okay. If I remember right, I want just barely oval because I have to do this like 3 times. Aww. overdo it. Oh, that sucks. Okay, we just need a huge success here. Yay! Anyone want food? We got more food than we can think to deal with. We don't need food. Let's go life. You can give us... Yes! Move toward visible enemies. I really don't want to fight. Dang it. This is going to be a little hard. Did I really just waste that? We want it right there. There we go. Come on. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Nope. Come here. I see why this battle is being so much harder than what it needs to be. Dang it. Oh my god. Come on. Let me hit the stinking one guy. Die. Okay. Now everything should be even. There we go. Dang it. Oh, that's it. Hello there, AK Adventurers. You have a really good knack of getting at the end of the stream, but we at least got a token out of it. I didn't know that that one guy was healing them the entire time. But, whew. I think that's the highest we've gotten. Woo. Wrong thing. How do I get out of this? I clicked the wrong button. There we go. Yeah, that's the best we've ever done. Oh my gosh. It was quite an adventure. It threw us over to 30 minutes. But I think I'm going to call this the end of the stream tonight. My hand is sore. That's how bad that was. Oh my gosh. Plus, I got pizza ready to be devoured. So, I'll talk to you all later. Bye bye.